Hey guys, it's Snake, and I'm back, finally, to some zombie storyline. I know you guys have been waiting, and here we are with episode 3, and it looks like we're knee-deep in some zombie crap. Let's see if I can get a like for everyone who gets that joke. Anyway, the first thing I'm going to do is actually skip back to Varut, something I forgot to mention, one of the things Peter writes on the wall. Now, if you recall, the last thing I was saying before the video ended was how Maxis, and probably Richtofen as well, when he was doing his secret experiments on Sam, used a teddy bear as sort of a medium to get her to do what they wanted. Now, she makes Peter, or her thoughts are pushed out through Peter's writing on the wall, Teddy is a liar. So that means that either Sam or probably her alter ego, the demonic subconscious that she has, the demonic voice that we hear and everything, knows that there's horseshit around somewhere, and she knows it's coming from Teddy. That would mean that her subconscious is pretty sharp, and probably knows a lot more than we know. Probably knows a lot of what Richtofen knows, it would seem at least. And yeah, so that's kind of where we're at right now, here in this Swamp of the Dead. So let's take a trip back in time. At some point in the past, there was a meteor shower here, and a meteorite fell to Earth containing element 115. Now, we fast forward a little ways until we get to World War II. Japan joins the Axis power and signs up for the wrong side. So they decide to start expanding their territories and taking over parts of the South Pacific, southern China, Vietnam, all that kind of thing, which is an area where that they have lots of swamps. So it's very probable what's happening here is Japan has went through and started taking over cities, and they're crossing the territories, and they walk through the swamp and discover the meteor that we see off in the distance. And they discover that they can use it to make weapons. So they start drawing up blueprints for the very first ray gun, and some time before they actually start making it, the word on the street gets back to Group 935 in Germany, and so they send people down here, and they're like, okay, we can handle it from here, guys. And they set up shop here, drop in some perk machines, and take the plans for the ray gun, which Dr. Maxis later perfects and is turned into the ray gun that we know from the mystery box. Now, time passes, and there's the first outbreak at Varut, and it causes Harvey Yenna, the guy who was in charge of the GG2 experiments going on at Varut, left and came here to set up shop, and they started doing more weapons experiments here, using the DG2 on who knows what. But the one thing they discovered here is that the DG2, when shot in the water, will shoot the electricity outward and zap anything, so you don't even need to aim, which is really great to have on this map, and it allows you to actually get to really high rounds when you're playing solo. Although it's very tough to get to higher rounds with less than 4 people when you have more than 1. But of course, gameplay aside, we got Harvey Yenna here at Shi No Numa. He's doing experiments on the DG2. And we know the DG2, of course, from the V-Bush files, is created by Dr. Richtofen. And the V-Bush files, just for everybody to know, is files that you can access through the computer that's in the main screen, that's on the main screen, loading screen. You break out of the shackles and you walk over to the computer and you can access it there. But according to these, we know that the DG2 was created by Richtofen. And Harvey, we know, created the hyena Infradead from Call of the Dead. So we know he's a weapons expert, and we know he takes weapons and he makes them better. He makes the pack-a-punch versions. So it's not that far of a stretch to think that maybe him working on the DG2 here is to do 2 things. One, create the better pack-a-punch version of it, which we find when we get to Derice, which is the first place to have a pack-a-punch machine. The other thing, of course, is to figure out if it's suitable for mass production. If we can start giving it to, 50 guys in a group to start, advancing on the enemy and shooting away and killing as many as they can. And of course, he decides that it's not. We know this because, well, we don't know that Harvey decides, but Dr. Maxis decides that it's not suitable for mass production, and we know that from the radio message in Call of the Dead, dated October 1st, one right before Richtofen decides to get rid of Maxis and Sam. So Harvey's here, and things are starting to get out of control here too, and he's already been through one outbreak, so he kind of knows what it looks like right before it happens. So he decides to send out a message to Peter, the other spy, because Harvey is also a spy, and an American spy, at least that we know of. Now, I brought into question last episode if Peter might have been part of the Illuminati, so maybe Harvey is too, who knows. But he leaves a message for Peter, letting Peter know that he had left the asylum, came here, and that things were starting to get out of hand here. I'm going to take this moment to correct something from last episode, and I put a correction in the comments below, but I just want to clarify this, because he sends this message out to Peter, and I had thought Peter got this and left Doris on his own and went to Verut to check things out. But according to some of the files in the computer, in the VBush files, he is actually transferred from Doris to Verut, and there are no longer any contact from him to the OSS after this happens. And I had thought he went there and sent them a message. So what actually happens is he gets transferred himself, along with several other people. My guess is to clean up the mess at Verut. And that's when Sam starts making him go crazy and talking to him. And it's possible the other members of 935 that are with him discover that he's a spy and lets Richtofen know. But Richtofen still doesn't know that it's Peter that's the spy, because he has a message from September 20th after Verut happens, and he doesn't mention the fact that Peter's a spy, but only speculates that he's part of the organization. And so the OSS is actually sent in not because he goes and sends out a crazed message, but because he goes to Verut and then doesn't send any message. So I just wanted to clarify that. Now, this brings us to October 1st. October 1st is when Richtofen leaves a radio message talking about how they're not going to mass produce the DG2, and how he is getting tired of Maxis and plans on taking care of both him and Sam. So at some point after that, that's when everything goes down at Doris, and of course we're going to talk about that next episode. But after that happens is when the outbreak here must occur. And we know there's an outbreak, obviously. Look, there's blood all over the place, tables are overturned, beds are overturned, and we know from Harvey's message that things were starting to get out of hand. So we know that people were kind of on edge, and things looked like they weren't really under control. And they aren't, because something obviously happens. Harvey Yenna escapes. Who knows how many other people escape, but we know for a fact Harvey Yenna escapes because he must go on to the Russian version of the communist version of Group 935, and at the Siberian place, the lighthouse for Paul of the Dead, where he makes the hyena infrared. So he leaves here, and that's the last we'll see of him for a while. But the outbreak happens, and word must somehow get back to Richtofen, who then goes, well, shit, my invention, the DG2's here. I don't want it to either slip into the wrong hands or be lost forever. So he gets his group of Element 115 immune croonies and takes a trip over to the Swamp of the Dead to get the DG2. In fact, that is the whole reason why we're here, is to pick up the DG2. And this is the first map that's like that. The first two maps, think about it. Nocta and Toten, first off, didn't have storyline. And let's fit it in, just for argument's sake, where I fit it in, with Tank and 3 other Marines getting there, holding up, and then making their way after they escaped to Verut. Okay, so we're just there because we crash landed. Then after we leave, we go to Verut, where we're here just to get Peter. It's not that those people were there for any specific reason. That is to say that each person wasn't there for their own specific reason, but they were there for someone else, to get Peter out, to get Peter back home. So there's not really a direct cause for us to be there. It's just kind of an accident that Tank and those 3 other Marines got stuck there. And a really bad one for the 3 Marines, because they die and we never see them again. So why is this map different? Well, this map is different because the whole reason why we're here, the whole reason why Richtofen has brought us here, is to pick up the DG2. And that means that from now on, whenever Richtofen's around, there's always a reason for us to be in each level. And as, of course, we go on to new levels, we're going to discuss each level with that in mind, with with the fact that Richtofen seems to have intention with each map. There seems to be a reason why he's bringing us there. Even if he messes up and brings us to the wrong place, it always has some connection to his plan that's hiding behind all of this zombie good. So he gets the group together, and my guess is they take a teleporter here. That's how they get here. I know a lot of people think they flew, or who knows how else they could. I mean, obviously, they either had to have flown or taken the teleporter. You know, because they couldn't drive. It's a swamp. It's in the middle of nowhere. And it obviously would have taken too long to drive all the way across Asia. So they had to get here somehow. A lot of people think it's a plane, and that kind of makes sense. But I want to say that it is a teleporter. I want to say it's a teleporter that we just don't see. It's a teleporter that's in another part of the swamp, or another part of the facility. Because it would make sense that there must be a teleporter here. Think about it. All the teleporters that the Germans have invented, that Group 935 invented, we're going to find out at Derice, don't work on human flesh, or living flesh, I should say. Anything living, any organic matter can't go through because something always goes wrong. Zombies are created, the hellhounds, etc., etc. But they can use it for inanimate matter. So it would make sense that if this is one of Group 935's facilities, it would also have a teleporter here that could be used to transport, among other things, the Element 115 or anything else that they needed supplies for here, etc. Stuff could get transferred back and forth. But because we're all immune to Element 115, Richtofen knows that we can take the teleporter safely. So he would take the teleporter here because we need to get the DG2 as quickly as possible. So what he's leaving behind is Derice in a crazy mess because they just got rid of Maxis and Sam, and the Hellhounds were created. So he's kind of leaving, I don't know, it's like leaving the stove on, when you're going away for a week-long vacation. It's not a good idea, but it's more important that he gets the DG2, and who knows, maybe he wants things to sort of blow up at Derice. So we leave that behind, and we get here, and what do we find? Well, we find the zombies, we find the GG2, we find the radio message and all that other stuff, but we also find Hellhounds. This is the first map that has Hellhounds, which makes sense because if he's gotten rid of Sam, that means the Hellhounds have been created from Fluffy and her pregnant tummy full of baby Hellhounds. And so now they're here. Now she has control over them. She's able to send them out to try and kill us. And that's exactly what she does. So the last couple things I want to talk about, obviously the musical Easter egg in this is in the comm room. It's a telephone, and it's just like the toilet where you click it 3 times and then it will ring. And somebody says, "I know you're sleeping." And I'm going to do a whole nother video on the whole dream theory about how this is all just fake, it's all just a dream, because it's a whole nother big mess in and of itself. So there's that. And the other thing I did want to talk about too is the iPhone version of Shi No Numa, because there's the iPhone and iPad version, and it's actually pretty fun. They dumb it down a little bit because obviously the controls are much harder to use. You don't have a controller in your hand, you're using a touchscreen, so it's a little bit more difficult to fight hordes and hordes of zombies. But in this map in particular, there is an Easter egg, where once you open up all the doors, all 8 doors, it says, "All areas clear, now go find the grave." And so now instead of a knife, you have this little shovel. So you got to go look around the map for a grave. And it turns out that it's Peter's grave. And that's how you can get the DG2. So you could actually have 2 DG2s if you have 2 people playing on iPhone. So what I think this means is that Peter left Verrückt with 1 arm, somehow, didn't die, and made it here. Otherwise, why would his grave be here, right? And so if he makes it here, before this place has the outbreak that causes Richtofen to come and get the DG2, what if he gets here and he's sort of the catalyst? Because we know that he's been bitten by the zombies. What if he gets here, looking for help, turns into a zombie, and all hell breaks loose? Who knows? Maybe we'll never know. But until next time, guys, peace.